I'm Serene, and I'm here at the Koger Center for the Arts to watch a performance of the ballet. While we're waiting for the show to begin, let's go meet some of the people who have been working behind the scenes.
Well, I'm the department chair here at Theater and Dance at the University of South Carolina, but I'm also a professional scenic and lighting designer and have projects going on all over the country right now. When you come to see a production, whether it be a musical or a straight play or anything that's in a theater, the stage is really just an empty room. That's all it is. There's nothing there except for when they come to mount a production, they make an environment for that show. So what a set designer and a lighting designer do, where they create the world of the play, working from the script. This is a rendering that I created of a set design. I did the set and the lighting for this production, and this is the Miracle Worker at Florida Repertory Theater, and that room is just an empty room. And then what we did is I made this rendering so that you can see what the world is going to look like, and then it's built. So what we're creating, we're taking an empty box and we're building a world for the play to happen in. Well, first off, if there was no light, we couldn't see, it would be dark. But beyond that, lighting in a theatrical production is just like, it's like music. You know how some music can make you upbeat or sad, or lighting can be bright and happy, and it can be dark and mysterious. Lighting can also help tell you where to look, so that it's like a camera on a TV show or a movie, where the camera moves and tells you, look over here to the left, this is where the person's hiding. So in the stage lighting can do the same thing. The lighting can have this whole stage, and then it can zoom over here and tell us, look over on this part of the stage. It's like the camera control. I was 13, and I had already been making a lot of models. You know, I was very young I was 10 when we landed on the moon. So I was making spaceship models and all kinds of things like that, and crafts and building forts in my backyard. And so I've always been kind of crafty, right? And so I was 13 and I moved to a new city, and it was just so by happenstance, I met a young guy who was 13 who also moved to this new city, Asheville. And I said, I don't know anybody. He said he didn't know anybody. And so they said, well, we wanted to meet some people. So he said, I'm gonna audition for a play. So I went with him. I'd never been to a play. We both auditioned. He got the lead in the show. I got a small part. But what happened was I met a man named Nick Bishop, who's the technical director, and he said, you know, he helped me. He asked me, he saw that I was interested in building things and said, you can come in and help us build the next set. And so that's how I fell into it. I was 13 years old when I started, and I did my first lighting design when I was 15, and my first set design when I was 16 years old at the Asheville Community Theater. So I just got involved. More than anything, it was just about finding something to do. I loved it, and I just got involved. And I met a lot of people. The show I was in the first show I was in was in the Children's Theater. So I was working with a lot of people my age who were in junior high, and so it was just a great place to meet people, very social, and it's just been a great place to work my entire career. This is what I really love about my job, right? Is that I have a set of skills that I've developed. I can paint, I can draft, I can hang lights, I can do all these certain things. I can upholster furniture, but all the things that I can analyze stories. But that's my toolbox. I can do these things. Every show I do is a different show with different people. So my job is always different. I'm either doing this year, right now I'm working on a production of Romeo and Juliet, and then the next thing it might be The Miracle Worker, and then, so it's always kind of new and fun, and then also the people are different. So what's great about it is that you're meeting a lot of people, and you're also just you're good at what you do, but you can do it, and you do it so many different ways. So what's great about this job is that it's a set of skills that you can do. You learn to paint, you learn to build scenery, you learn to hang lights, you learn to do, upholstery, all the kinds of things, these craft things I love to do, like model making, like I was when I was a kid. It's sort of like a kid's job, right? I love that about it. And yet I've gotten pretty good at it, and people hire me to do it. And so every time I do a show, I use the same skills, but it's always a different play. It's, I'm doing Annie, or I'm doing The Miracle Worker. And so it's always different. And also, I go to different cities. I'm getting ready to do shows in 3 different cities, one in New York City, and one in Washington, D.C., one in Orlando, and one in Fort Myers. And all of these things are groups of people I get to go and work with. They're friends, I've known them for years, but it's always different. There's different people, and it's always a different challenge. It's just different. It's really rewarding to have the ability to do it, and then to do it with different people.
I do a number of things. I am a rigger, so I hang all of the tour equipment from the ceilings, and I also perform changeovers and repair the stage equipment. Changeovers when we change between shows. So basically, this show leaves, we're getting ready for the next show, so we'll prepare the stage for the next show coming. It all depends on the show, whether we're building it from scratch or it shows up on a truck. If it shows up on a truck, we can get it in and ready to go in 6 hours or so. If we're building it ourselves, it can take us up to 12 hours to get it ready, show worthy. I actually got started in 2005 when I was in college, and we were doing a show inside of our little theater there. And someone just asked me, hey, can you help us break this down? And they handed me a crowbar, and ever since then, it's me and a crowbar. I studied theatrical arts with a minor in mechanical engineering. I studied a lot of engineering. So I have an engineering background, which helps me understand things like load, weight, stress, force, things like that, so I can have it already set up before the show even shows up. I have a general understanding of the equipment I use. I never had to break it apart, thank God. But I have a general understanding of how they work. The mechanical classes would be good, but not necessary, because everything here is mostly common sense kind of things. Once you see how it works, it's gonna work the same way every time. First things first, understand your strengths. Focus on those first. And then once you get strong and proficient at one thing, move on to another thing. Because the more skills you have under your belt, the more opportunities you have. It's mostly about exposure. The more people who see you perform, and they see you perform well, opens up the door to work at different venues doing different things.
I get a grant, normally a hospitality grant, and the essence of that is to help tourists come to town. And so I write how our ballet actually not only serves everyone here in town, but draws people from Savannah, from West Virginia, from New York. We're an international ballet company, so I try to use that to show how more people want to come to Columbia, spend the night and eat, as well as go to the ballet. And I think it's so exciting to know that all of us can be a fundraiser. For me, I liked the government because we all pay taxes. I feel like we are worthy, and that attracted me. But as we see, you can have a lemonade stand and make money and give it to a cause you believe in. And my daughter danced, and I fell in love with dance. I'm very hyper, and it's almost the only thing that relaxes me. So I fell in love with this ballet thing without being very knowledgeable. So I was always seeking to find ways to make money. There's so many kinds, but I like to write. And that there's a calmness in writing and seeing what you write, and then seeing how successful you are by how much money you're awarded. So that's what I did. There's so many kinds, but I am a government. I go to City of Columbia, to Richland County, and to the South Carolina Arts Commissions. Those are the 3 that I'm interested in. And I have two incredible helpers that help me. One of them is 33 years old and the other one's 83 years old. And they're both phenomenal and calm. And when I'm all crazy, they keep me calm. If we take City of Columbia or Richland County, there will be questions to describe your mission, your budget, why you're asking, what makes you unique. We have a unique mission in that our outreach rules so much of what we do. It's about excellent artistry, but extensive outreach. One without the other doesn't work for us. And there are a lot of ballets in our city, and they're all doing good things and good work. So it's very imperative that we stand out and that we honor that mission. And that's exactly what we do. And that's what I tell both the city and Richland County and the Arts Commission, that we have very inexpensive tickets, that we will have hundreds and thousands that will be able to come free. And that's what we do with the funding. It's like, I'm gonna explain to you who we are, and when I'm done, you're going to know about me. And if you think I'm worthy, you're going to reward me money. And you may be from 1 to 100, I may be the 10th getting money, or I may be the 99th, or if I'm really awesome, I may be the top 2 or 3, and then the monies are awarded. I always think of it as a grant as a piece of work that enables you to receive monies for something you believe in. I think of it so psychologically. It's really, it might be 30 questions, it might be 57 pages, it might be 3. But with questions about your organization, it is important that I describe to you exactly who we are and what we do and why we're distinctive. And why we really, there's so many grants for different things, but why we will fit. It's all about the fit. And a lot of wonderful, wonderful things are going on, but they don't draw in tourism. But I have to prove to you why my international dancers and social media, why we draw in. And it is absolutely, we cannot have this ballet company unless we're successful in our grant writing, because it's a very substantial part of our budget, over half. So it's very important that the city is proud of what we do, and the county's proud of the Arts Commission, and that we are reaching out to everybody and very diverse, and that we're there for everybody. And we're all those things. And that's why we use this unbelievable facility, so that we can bring in lots of people to lots of our things. That we're so glad to have this big center. I think wherever your heart is, and that's what happened to me. I studied psychology, I have my master's. I thought I'd be a counselor. I've had a dress shop 42 years, but I fell in love with this thing called ballet, and it calmed me, and I just became driven. So when you fall in love with something and believe in it, whether it's an art form or a disease, whatever, and you want to help those people, when your heart's there, you're just there. You know when something's due at midnight and you've worked all day and you don't stop and you don't eat and you don't sleep, because all that matters is that deadline, and you just found out about a grant, it's due in 12 hours. It's so rewarding to know it mattered, so I did it. So there's tremendous reward in following your passion. I think it's all about your heart and passion. That's who I am. Now, for some that are much more A, B, C, D, E, they think differently, and they're very excellent the way they think. But it's not how I am, and it's not how I want to be. So it is my job, all the wonderful people that I ask for to give me money on all the councils, it's my job to see if I can't get them to see a ballet, or to send them a link of something that just gets them. And they're like, I get it. They have so many things to care about. So it's my job for them to touch what I care about. And that's an endless job.
In the world of theater and dance and film, My role is to help actors, dancers, performers become the character that they are for their performance or their dance or their play or the movie. So I help to kind of transform them where they don't look like themselves to the character that they're playing or that they're pretending to play. To do hair and makeup for dance or for the ballet, one of the most important things is that probably more their hair than their makeup is to make sure that their hair stays in place, because you certainly don't want to be doing jumps or turns or kicks or pirouettes and having hair fall down in your face or being lifted. That could actually become a real safety issue and a hazard for the dancers. So you want to make sure that you have the hair really pinned and secured and up and off their face. And for makeup, in dance, you really put a lot of focal attention to the eyes. You know, when people are coming to see dance, they're really looking at the body and the silhouette of the body and how the light is shining on them. Dance is very athletic, and viewers, people coming to the theater, want to see that. In makeup, it depends upon if they're playing a character or if it's just more natural and they're just kind of presenting themselves. So if you're doing the play like Romeo and Juliet, well, you want to make them look as much like the young teenagers who have fallen in love as possible, to make them very youthful, you know, maybe put blush on their cheeks, men and women. But if it's an older role, like a father, you might have to glue on a fake beard or something like that. It really depends upon what the dance is and what you're trying to accomplish. For doing makeup in the theater, you have to be able to be seen on the stage, and that very last person in that last row has to be able to see you. So the makeup is really heavy. It's a grease paint, and it really has a lot of pigment and color in it, so that when those 250 lights are shining down on you, that you can still see that contour in the face. You can see the eyes, you can see the cheeks and lips. So it's a very heavy makeup with a lot of color in it. And you know, if you're filming something, a lot of you have phones maybe, but phones, you know, they can film at 4K or even 8 and 11K, super realistic, like someone's like right here in front of you. Well, you don't want that kind of makeup for that. You want something very natural and very realistic, because it's going to look very artificial and fake. So there are a lot of different makeups, and you just have to know how you're using it to be able to know what the best makeup is for that occasion. I got involved in theater when I was like about 6 years old, in first grade. And I'm the youngest of 6 children. I have 5 older brothers, and nobody in my family is in the arts, not one single person. But I did a first grade play called The Goblin Parade, and I was hooked, and I was performing in it. And then when the book fair came around, so I went to the book fair, and this is one of the first books I ever bought with my allowance, and it's called Movie Monsters. And inside this book, it has all the different old horror movies, scary movies of the time period, and it tells you how to do the makeup. So I would recreate all of these makeups when I was a kid, and I would use anything I could find. And that's kind of how I got started, and I really never left or deviated from that path. To be a good hair and makeup artist, you have to be willing to put the person in your chair ahead of you. They're the most important person. You have to do everything you can to support them and to encourage them, to sometimes calm them down, because they're about ready to go on stage. And if you're the last person they're usually seeing, you're doing the final touches on their hair and their makeup. I really become kind of a close friend and confidant to most of my clients or performers. They really rely on my energy. I try to be very calm when I'm working with them, to relax them, and to be a good listener. When I work with actors, you know, they're all different personalities. Some are really quiet, and then they have this great personality that explodes on stage. And some sit down in the chair and they're just blah, 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 blah. They're crazy and they're like off the charts. you have to know, as the person who's doing their hair and makeup and working with them and touching them, how to kind of work off of that energy. So if they're quiet and reserved, you try to respect that and not invade their space too much and talk to them about everything that you're doing. I always like to let people know that, you know, I'm going to be brushing your hair now, or I'm going to be pulling your hair up now, or I kind of talk them through everything that we're doing. And if they're like kind of off the charts and they're wild and crazy, I really work to kind of bring that in a little bit because they need to settle down, they need to kind of focus. And we are a collaborative team, everybody in theater and dance and film. You know, there are hundreds of people working together to make this performance the best. And part of my job is not only to do the hair and makeup and to help with the wigs, but it's also to be a part of that team to help make this performer do the best performance they can do that night. And if they're just kind of like off the charts, then I do everything I can to kind of start calming them down a little bit. So when I decided that I wanted to work in theater, I didn't actually know kind of how to go about doing that. I didn't have a family in the arts. I didn't have any contacts. So I finished school, high school, and I went to college and I got a 4-year degree. And then I went and got my master's, which is another like 3-year degree in costume design. And hair and makeup kind of fall under that field of costume design a lot of times. And I think one of the things that when I teach my college classes, one of the things that students don't realize is that there are so many professions within hair and makeup. You just hear those two words, hair and makeup, and you think that's it. Well, there's a lot of different professions. There's bridal makeup, there's editorial makeup, which is doing hair and makeup for magazines and photo shoots, and there's high fashion, you know, runway makeup, which is always really fun to do. There's so many different avenues, and then there's special effects makeup, which is, you know, transforming someone with a mask to look like a cat or a dog or something scary, or injuries. And I think one of the big things is that you never want to limit yourself, you know, whenever you're pursuing any career, that it's not just one job. You're not just a computer programmer. There's like hundreds of jobs in that industry. And just the same is true for costumes, hair, and makeup. Even within makeup, there's like 5 different types of makeup artists. And the same is true for hair and wigs. You know, there are people that do hair that never touch wigs, and there are people that love to do updos and beautiful hairstyles that never do a men's cut. So there's so many different ways to specialize if you have an interest. If you wanted to be a hair and makeup artist, and let's say you wanted to work professionally on Broadway, or you wanted to work on a feature film or a TV show, you need to get your cosmetology or barbering license after you finish high school, and sometimes you can actually attend a program while you're in high school, your junior and senior year, which is 11th and 12th grade. You can actually enroll in a barbering and cosmetology program, pass the test, and get your license, and then you're free and able to work. If you want to work in a feature film, or if you really want to go to Broadway and work, there are unions that you have to join and be a part of. And to be a part of those unions that help you work in those different jobs and professions, you have to work so many hours, and you have to have someone kind of sponsoring you right at the very beginning. And then you're kind of set. You're free to go to start working in the industry. If you are interested in being a makeup artist, all of you are so lucky now because there are so many YouTube videos out there. Get your parents to approve of them first, but there's so many makeup artists out there. I actually have a collection of probably about 75 YouTube artists that I give my college students to look at them. I mean, it's out there with a few basic materials. You can just start practicing. And really, makeup is all about eye-hand coordination. It is painting. You're just painting with makeup as your medium. You're not using watercolors or acrylics or pencils or crayons, you're using makeup, but it still is that eye-hand coordination. So you can just start practicing like I did when I was a kid. I just opened this up and I started following these directions, and I don't know why. Maybe my parents were tired after having 5 boys, but they would let me go to school as a vampire, and they would let me go to school as a werewolf after I would do all these crazy makeups. I was addicted to it, and I'm self-taught. So I started at the exact same age that you are right now, with no training, no help, nobody. I wasn't a particularly artistic kid. But I practiced and practiced because I had a passion for it. And I had a passion for doing hair and styling hair. I was always that kid sitting on the floor braiding somebody's hair, or doing cornrows, or flipping it up and doing fancy hairstyles. So you can just practice. And then as you get older, there's more resources and textbooks and things to kind of help you.
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed learning about all the great careers behind the scenes.